left the office with 1,000 enjoyable fussy directions to the effect that there would undoubtedly be important tasks tomorrow, and Miss McGowan and Miss Bannigan would do well to be there early, and for heaven's sake remind him to call up Cornell Lighty soon as he came in. Tonight he departed with feigned and apologetic liveliness. He was as afraid of his still-faced clerks, of the eyes focused on him, Miss McGowan staring with head lifted from her typing, Miss Bannigan looking over her ledger, Matt Penniman craning around at his desk in the dark alcove, Stanley Graff sullenly expressionless as a parvenu before the bleak promontory of his butler. He hated to expose his back to their laughter, and in his efforts to be casually merry he stammered and was raucously friendly and oozed wretchedly out the door. But he forgot his misery when he saw from Smith Street the charms of Floral Heights, the roofs of red tile and green slate, the shining new sun parlors, and the stainless walls. 3. He stopped to inform Howard Littlefield, his scholarly neighbor, that though the day had been springlike, the evening might be cold. He went in to shout, "Where are you?" at his wife, with no very definite desire to know where she was. He examined the lawn to see whether the furnace man had raked it properly. With some satisfaction and a good deal of discussion of the matter with Mrs. Babbitt, Ted, and Howard Littlefield, he concluded that the furnace man had not raked it properly. He cut 2 tufts of wild grass with his wife's largest dressmaking scissors. He informed Ted that it was all nonsense having a furnace man. "Big husky fellow like you ought to do all the work around the house." And privately he meditated that it was agreeable to have it known throughout the neighborhood that he was so prosperous that his son never worked around the house. He stood on the sleeping porch and did his day's exercises, arms out sideways for 2 minutes, up for 2 minutes, while he muttered, "Ought to take more exercise, keep in shape," then went in to see whether his collar needed changing before dinner. As usual, it apparently did not. The Lettish Croat maid, a powerful woman, beat the dinner gong. The roast beef, roasted potatoes, and string beans were excellent this evening, and after an adequate sketch of the day's progressive weather states, his $450 fee, his lunch with Paul Riesling, and the proven merits of the new cigar lighter, he was moved to a benign, "Sort of thinking about buying a new car. Don't believe we'll get one till next year, but still we might." Verona, the older daughter, cried, "Oh, Dad, if you do, why don't you get a sedan? That would be perfectly slick. A closed car is so much more comfy than an open one."
"Well, now, I don't know about that. I kind of like an open car. You get more fresh air that way."
"Oh, shoot. Just because you've never tried a sedan. Let's get one. It's got a lot more class," said Ted. "A closed car does keep the clothes nicer," from Mrs. Babbitt. "You don't get your hair all blown to pieces," from Verona. "It's a lot sportier," from Ted. And from Tinka the youngest, "Oh, let's have a sedan. Mary Ellen's father has got one." Ted wound up, "Oh, everybody's got a closed car now, except us." Babbitt faced them.
"I guess you got nothing very terrible to complain about, anyway. I don't keep a car just to enable you children to look like millionaires, and I like an open car, so you can put the top down on summer evenings and go out for a drive and get some good fresh air. Besides, closed car costs more money."
Gee whiz, if the Delapadors can afford a closed car, I guess we can," prodded Ted.
"Huh. I make 8,000 a year to his 7, but I don't blow it all in and waste it and throw it around the way he does. Don't believe in this business of going and spending a whole lot of money to show off and—"
They went with ardor and some thoroughness into the matters of streamlined bodies, hill-climbing power, wire wheels, chrome steel, ignition systems, and body colors. It was much more than a study of transportation. It was an aspiration for knightly rank. In the city of Zenith, in the barbarous 20th century, A family motor indicated its social rank as precisely as the grades of the prairies determined the rank of an English family. Indeed, more precisely. Considering the opinion of old country families upon newly created brewery barons and woolen mill viscounts, the details of precedence were never officially determined. There was no court to decide whether the second son of a Pierce Arrow limousine should go for dinner before the first son of a Buick Roadster. But of the respective social importance there was no doubt, and where Babbitt as a boy had aspired to the presidency, his son aspired to a Packard Twin Six and an established position in the motor gentry. The favor which Babbitt had won from his family by speaking of a new car evaporated as they realized he didn't intend to buy one this year. Ted lamented, "Oh, punk! The old boat looks as if it had fleas and been scratching its varnish off." Mrs. Babbitt said abstractedly, "It's no way to talk to your father." Babbitt raged, "If you're too much of a high-class gentleman and you belong to the Bon Ton and so on, why, you needn't take the car out this evening." Ted explained, I didn't mean," and dinner dragged on with normal domestic delight to the inevitable point at which Babbitt protested, Come now, we can't sit here all evening. Give the girl a chance to clear away the table." He was fretting, "What a family! I don't know how we all get to scrapping this way. Like to go off some place and be able to hear myself think. Paul, Maine, wear old pants and loaf and cuss." He said cautiously to his wife, "I've been in correspondence with a man in New York. Wants me to see him about a real estate trade. May not come off till summer. Hope it doesn't break just when we and the Riesling get together to go to Maine. Be a shame if we couldn't make the trip there together. Well, no use worrying now." Verona escaped immediately after dinner with no discussion save an automatic, "Why don't you ever stay home?" from Babbitt. In the living room in a corner of the Davenport, Ted settled down to his home study, plain geometry, Cicero, and the agonizing metaphors of Comus. "I don't see why they give us this old-fashioned junk by Milton and Shakespeare and Wordsworth and all these has-beens," he protested. "Oh, I guess I could stand to see a show by Shakespeare if they had swell scenery and put on a lot of dog, but to sit down in cold blood and read 'em, these teachers, how do they get that way?" Mrs. Babbitt, darning socks, speculated, "Yes, I wonder why. Of course I don't want to fly in the face of the professors and everybody, but I do think there's things in Shakespeare. Not that I read him much, but when I was young the girls used to show me passages that weren't really, they weren't at all nice." Babbitt looked up irritably from the comic strips in the Evening Advocate. They composed his favorite literature and art, these illustrated chronicles in which Mr. Mutt hit Mr. Jeff with a rotten egg, and Mother corrected Father's vulgarisms by means of a rolling pin. With the solemn face of a devotee breathing heavily